right. No nonsense, real and raw, just like you like it.
He's corrupt, he's inexperienced, and he lies.
Broadcasting from a broom closet in the Arizona Lotus Studios, it's Beef Vegan Presents.
Yo, welcome back to the show. It's Beef Vegan Presents live on Rock 102.1 KFMA, streaming worldwide at KFMA.com on this beautiful Friday, November 18th. Good morning, Powers.
Good morning, Beef.
And good morning, Tucson. We got a great show lined up for you today. Film critic Herb Stratford's going to be in a little bit later on. And, you know, we have a lot of stuff to cover. It's Friday leading into the week. I'm taking next week off to get my stuff together, you know, kind of like a vacay. Took the opportunity, kind of hacked into our PTO. We talked about this on the show before, how to like maximize your time off so you only work like maybe 10 months a year, which would be ideal.
Yeah.
The European schedule would be awesome. So, you know, the key is just to piggyback around holidays. So we had 2 days off next week for Thanksgiving, as you do as well. And I took that opportunity. I looked at my PTO and be like, man, I've been racking up this PTO, man. I haven't been taking days off. I need to switch that up now. So Power's going to be weighing in or holding down the fort all next week. So we're going to do a super show today and leave good taste in your mouth. That's the goal.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Gross.
always so. Yes. Thank you, Powers. All right. So the big story today, shared by the Razor on Facebook. It was trending on Twitter all day yesterday. It's the Taylor Swift fallout. You know, and we're talking about Taylor Swift on Rock 102.1. Why? It's because Pearl Jam warned us. Pearl Jam warned us years ago that a monopoly with the music industry is never a good thing. And we're talking about Ticketmaster. Now, I've gotten in trouble of talking about Live Nation and Ticketmaster, but because I can't stand the just the monopoly, the way they got a stranglehold on the entire industry. In fact, they own like 90%. Well, I think it's more like 80% of all music venues throughout the entire country.
Wow.
Ticketmaster and Live Nation. What does that mean? Well, it means they control everything. They control the set price. They control who goes out on tour. This is why they're able to put together massive festivals and also make a bunch of non-competes. So say like that Sick New World. Sick New World has like System of a Down and, you know, who's who of new metal, right? They could book those bands at a huge rate with the deal saying, okay, we'll book out the rest of your tour. So when you're touring, you'll go boom, 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 here, here, and here. If a band says no, they're going to be like, well, unfortunately, all those venues you want to play at aren't available.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's either you play with us or you don't play at all. And they have that capability. Now, an artist like Taylor Swift is massively popular, right? And they had a different issue, but still one that infuriated the general public. It's because since Ticketmaster, again, is one entity, it's not market by market promoter doing their own on sales and being able to handle, you know, a massive sellout. Now, Taylor Swift, when she announced a concert, fans line up around the block. As soon as the tickets go on sale, boom, they're gone. Whether it's fans or bots or scalpers, they're gone immediately, right? Well, yesterday, what happened was as soon as they started the pre-sale on Tuesday, it was so massive that it caused so much online chaos that Ticketmaster had to cancel today's public sales because more than 2 million tickets were sold on Tuesday.
Didn't they give out far too many pre-sale codes as well? And that's some of the reason they were in like hot water for it?
And yes, because they didn't expect something like this. And no one really could. I mean, this is obviously a record-breaking feat. And it doesn't take away from the fact that Taylor Swift is massively popular artist. And she deserves all the credit in the world for this. She broke Ticketmaster, which is insane. But at the same time, you know, the fact that everything they've been doing is digital tickets, and they said they still ran out of ticket inventory. Like, what? You ran out of emails? What? You ran out? What? Did you run out of barcodes? There's no physical tickets ever. We give out tickets all the time for Live Nation events, you know, and those are always, ever since COVID, digital. Be like, hey, I hope you have a smartphone, because if you don't, you're not getting in. That's just the way of the world right now.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so they ran out of they had insufficient remaining ticket inventory to meet demand. And on CBC or CNBC yesterday, the Live Nation chairman Greg said that they're working on the problem. In fact, actually, here's what he had to say about the whole snafu. Check it out.
Despite all the challenges and the breakdowns, we did sell over 2 million tickets that day. We could have filled 900 stadiums.
900, damn.
So that's why. So all those codes, we've given out 1.5 million codes, and then 14 million people cashed in the codes.
Yeah.
Because you share the codes around.
Right. Yep. Yeah, well, they effed up. And, well, this is what you get for doing a global or a nationwide on sale time. You know, I mean, if you went market by market, obviously not an issue. But this whole like unveiling and being like, okay, since they own it all and the entire run, they're just like, okay, it's up at 10 a.m. across the board and then crash.
Yeah. There have been times that I've done this for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Where WrestleMania has broken Ticketmaster because tickets they'll sell out within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and they do their pre-sale stuff too. But yeah, this sounds like it went viral. Is the codes went viral, and that's far too many people.
14 million, yeah. There you go. So your little system there, you got effed. But a lot of people took the opportunity to point out the fact of Ticketmaster's incompetency in a way, and really, I guess that's not it. But you know, they talk about the Pearl Jam and how Pearl Jam has. You know, they fought that valiant fight and then they lost, and now they have to work with Ticketmaster, but at least they're doing it on their terms to a certain extent. So in a way that they won, but you know, at least it brings up the discussion of monopolies. We're not supposed to have monopolies in the United States of America, right? Yeah. And you know, back was it 20 years ago when they passed this bill and gave Live Nation basically the green light to start gobbling up all these other independent promoters and become a monopoly. It was the beginning of the problem, and now we are dealing with that problem in real time. Here's one more thing Greg had to say about how unhappy fans are today.
I apologize to all our fans. We are working hard on this, and again, building capacity demand, we have to do, but this exceeded expectations. And the reality is that hasn't been on the road for
Okay. Let me just clarify one thing in particular. Okay. He said, I apologize to all our fans. No, that's Taylor Swift fans. It's not Live Nation fans. You'll never see somebody wearing a Live Nation t-shirt at a concert that Live Nation produced. Yeah. You don't have fans. You have a stranglehold on the community. It's time to change that. All right. When it comes to tickets, though, we have our hookups and we don't need to, you know, well, actually, I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, so when it comes to tickets, at least I have mine. So I'm going to give away a pair of tickets right now. All right, so, and this is not like a snafu. You won't get snubbed. Caller number 10 at 600 KFMA, 600-5362 will win a pair of tickets. Pair of tickets to what, you ask?
What?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. The Trinity of Terror Tour,
nice.
Black Veil Brides, Emotionless in White, and Ice 9 Kills also Atreyu. All right, so caller number 10 right now, 600 KFMA, 600-5362 will get my pair of tickets as a nice little FU to Live Nation and Ticketmaster because we got tickets. You won't get snubbed. Just call right now and good luck, and we'll reveal the winner after we play Radiohead's Creep. Morning Morons coming up after Bad Wolves and so much more. Keep it 2.1 KFMA. You know the name of the show. Let's go. All right, back on the podcast broadcast. We got Herb Stratford in studio. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the YouTube stream or Facebook. Shit, I got something in my eye like almost immediately. And shout out to everybody. Good morning, Herb. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Herb's been gone for a hot minute. Luckily, you know, it just lined up perfectly. So it's not like we had an opportunity to miss him because we had days off. We had Veterans Day off, which is good. And thank you for your service in World War I, by the way, Herb. And then we also had an early release for me going to San Francisco. So it all lined up. So Herb's back after traveling around the world, getting stuff done, right?
Yeah. I was in the Midwest. I was in Illinois, and then I was over in California.
Yeah, nice. Traveling Herb.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be excited about as far as releases going to our streaming services and new movies. But more importantly, there's stuff that Herb hated. Big name stuff that was like he loathed. So
it's true.
it's almost like a warning, like a save your money list is what we're going to be breaking down here in a little bit. But it'll be after we focus on and spotlight She Said, because that seems interesting. It's a story about Harvey Weinstein's discovery of all that. So
everybody knows the story, right? About Weinstein, right? I mean, the guy's still on trial. He's still sort of pretending that, I got a heart condition, you can't send me to jail, all this crap, right? I mean, and he is. I think he's in Rikers Island right now, but
he is.
Anyway, so everybody knows the story. He was abusing people for a long time, and he finally got caught. What people maybe don't know so much about is how the story broke and how people finally started listening. And
that it was running joke for a damn near decade.
Yeah.
So, the movie about the discovery of this and how it's breaking, I'm going to already be kind of like, nah, whatever. You didn't really discover anything. You just weren't listening to what people were joking about at the fucking Oscars for years. Him being a creep and a sexual predator has literally been in the conversation a full decade before this story broke and Me Too started becoming a thing.
But here's the thing. So what happened, and Ronan Farrow, you guys remember the whole Ronan Farrow, right? Mia Farrow's son, who sort of helped expose Woody Allen. So Ronan Farrow, he went to Vanity Fair with this story before this movie talks about the two women at the New York Times who sort of broke the story. But anyway, he went to Vanity Fair with his story, and they were like, no, we can't do that. And it's because Harvey was influencing their editorial. He was influencing their advertisers. They were all like, yeah, you're not going to do a story about Harvey Weinstein. That's just not going to happen. So people did try to break the story. And then it took the New York Times saying, okay, we're going to focus on this. And even then the issue, and you see this in the trailer, even then the women were like, I'm not talking to you. Right. Like, this happened to me. I don't want. And then they finally got them to talk by saying, we can't help you, but we can stop him from doing it to somebody else.
Right.
And then the women were like, oh, okay. All right. I'll come out for that. And so this is the story really of the birth of Me Too. And Harvey's, of course, the poster child for that. But then you've also got, you even have things going on. I mean, Kevin Spacey just got charged 7 more counts.
Yes.
And that's not even women, that's young men.
Yes.
But I mean, this whole sort of predatory nature of Hollywood taking advantage of young people trying to get into the industry, it's and I don't know if maybe it's changed a little bit, but I don't think it's like, woo, done, finish that, it's over. You know what I mean?
No, in fact, I've seen some editorials kind of talking about how the Me Too era is kind of over, right? Like people are like, oh, we listened to you ladies long enough. Back to talking about TNA. I don't know. So people aren't getting quickly canceled anymore, but at least it was in the conversation. So more men know the difference between flirting or showing your interest to someone and inappropriately, having conversation or essentially assaulting them or potentially making them feel uncomfortable. We learned a lot over the last 5 years of what's considered appropriate and not appropriate.
Yeah, and I think it's also a generational thing, right? And you have to sort of have some of these folks have to sort of age out of their positions. You have to have changes in leadership. I mean, it's not just like by calling attention to it, it goes away. But you're right. Everybody did learn things where, even just like maybe, touching somebody, look at the crap they give Biden for having, touching somebody's shoulders. I mean, it's,
he did look creepy in that meme though.
He did. But I mean, it's like not everybody's comfortable with the same thing, right? So better to not.
Right. you know? Yeah, I mean, when in doubt, don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to do the friendly hug with people, right? That Keanu does, where you don't actually touch them.
No touching. I think that's so fascinating.
Oh no, and I've done the Keanu ever since. It's ever since we saw it, and it was called and dubbed the Keanu. I was like, absolutely. So I have numerous pictures. You see me with listeners and ladies alike that I know that I'm just like, look at my hands. Look at my hand. They're up here. I'm good. There's no secret, whatever. I mean, there was a radio DJ who ended up being and this is from Denver. He was a douchey guy like John Jay from John Jay and Rich, right? The hair plugs, the whole nine. And Taylor Swift accused him of touching her butt.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, and in the picture, of course, his hand's behind her, so it looks like he could easily be like grasping her butt. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Either way, he got canceled effectively. But he did have the creepy face, and I'm sure that didn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go on the air real quick. We're live on the podcast broadcast with Herb Stratford, breaking down the movies we want to see. We just talked about She Said, which is a fascinating movie about the breaking story of Harvey Weinstein's sexual abuse allegations, how it came to light, how the Me Too era started, and it was definitely one that Herb Stratford approves of. But there are movies starring big name celebrities that he does not approve of. In fact, he wants you to save your money. These movies you need to avoid. We're going to break those down next after the Foo Fighters. You can join the conversation on youtube.com/beefvegan. There we are live on the podcast broadcast. But stick around because you're going to need to know what not to spend your money on. And if you're a fan of Will Ferrell, you're going to be sorely disappointed. All right? All that more.
Let's watch Elf again.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be back after this. It's Beef Vegan Presents on Rock 102.1 KFMA. Clear. All right. Let me just balance out my commercials. Is the internet doing better? Because I close things out. And yes, John Jay does have a history of doing creepy things, mainly just having affairs and, like thirsting after women's feet and shit like that. Yeah, he's
wow.
His gimmick is a foot fetish thing, and it's like, whatever. I met him once, and I met them both up in Phoenix because I was doing TV up there and with Kyle, and I've known Kyle for years, and that's a female co-host on that show. So, small incestual radio world, and I was still an outsider on the way in, slowly being accepted. And when I met John Jay has you get that impression right off the bat that he is so self-absorbed that, he just can't even retain any kind of like acknowledgement or anything. He's just like, hey, John Jay, nice to meet you. My name's Beef. Oh yeah, tell me about myself. Like, what? Fuck. So yeah, that was my impression. Rich, on the other hand, is a radio nerd, and I know this for a fact because when I first met Rich, I go, hey, Rich, hey, nice to meet you. My name's Beef Vegan. And he's like, oh yeah, I know who you are, and kind of did that. And I'm like, oh well, fuck me, right? So the next day I go on the show. What do? I do what I do. I tell about my experience. I run my mouth a little bit. I'm like, this guy, gives me the whole brush off, acting like a dick. And I'm showing courteous. I go to shake his hand and nice to meet you, blah, 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 radio guy. And he's like fucking super snub, being a dick. Well, he had spies listening. He's a radio guy. He listens. So the next time I did the TV, he comes up to me. He's like, hey, Beef, good to see you again, buddy. He went over the top to be nice. And I'm like, oh, thank you for listening. Yeah. It's funny. So that's my experience with the John Jay and Rich thing. Millionaires doing radio. All right. So we're breaking down the list of, we want to start off with, we'll start off with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds, and then we'll bag on Momoa.
Yeah.
And then I'll take that clip. I'll send it to Momoa's publicist along with your address.
Okay, great.
And that's going to go viral on YouTube. It's going to be fantastic. Kat was in yesterday, and she got all excited that she told me that she delivered to your house and got to see your cute house and beautiful house in this cute neighborhood. And it's like, guess what I did? I delivered food to Herb. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's still not grocery shopping, manually.
I was driving back from California, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to order groceries, and then when I get home, then they'll show up, and I won't have to, because I've been on the road for 8 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the second time that Kat's actually been the person, and the first time I wasn't there. And so I'm like, oh my God, there's Kat.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was nice to see her. And yeah.
And she believed that. Well, she got excited. She fangirled out. And she's like, you're Herb Stratford from the stream? Oh my God.
So funny.
I know.
My favorite thing the other day from yesterday's stream with the coffee exchange
Yeah.
was how hot she got. It's like, you don't remember me? what do you mean? And then at the end of the show, when you're like, you made it full screen on her, remember this face.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah, no, we had a good time
Dying.
yesterday for sure. And Jonathan just came on as a sponsor for the Half Price Fridays for the Coffee Exchange, and he didn't know this, but I honeypotted him. I had a cat in there, kind of reel him in, be like, be one of us, Jonathan.
Come in the studio next time. Don't you wanna?
Yeah. Rock
Nice.
102.1 KFMA. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. We're here with film critic extraordinaire. He's a voter of all the academies, because he's old enough and white enough to vote on the movies to give awards to other Hollywood actors.
He's the whitest.
Yes. They're like, what's your qualifications? Yeah. But film critic extraordinaire Herb Stratford. And now there are a lot of things that are being released on streaming services this weekend, which is great. And we'll get to those a little bit later. There are some big name projects being dropped this weekend that you need to avoid, according to Herb. And this is surprising too. Let's talk about this first one with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. These are both A-list stars.
They are, and it's called Spirited. Okay, and so this is clear. This is a Christmas film. So dropping it now on Apple TV. It's in theaters too for a little bit. I don't know locally, but I mean they did a theatrical thing. This is basically the Scrooge story. So this is a Christmas Carol
Again?
Yeah, again.
Real quick, hold on. I didn't mean to interrupt. Does this infuriate you, considering that you try to live like Scrooge yourself, Powers?
Hamburgers, this is a bunch of nonsense.
Right, exactly.
It's. I mean, we've done this before, right? And so you really have to be special, right? If you're going to do this and put a new twist on it and make it something good. So the premise here is that Will Ferrell is part of this this sort of group that they find people who are horrible people, right? And they basically give them the Scrooge treatment, where they plan for a whole year ahead of time, and then they plan to give these people an experience to change their life, right? And it's not just anybody. It has to be people that have ripples, right? So it has to be somebody who's at a certain point where they're going to impact other people, right? And so he's basically this guy. He's been up in this Santa Claus land, whatever it is, for a long time. And they end up identifying Ryan Reynolds as this guy that is a total D-bag, and he needs the treatment, right?
He needs to be humbled.
Yeah, he does. He needs to be Scrooged. And not to reference a better Bill Murray movie.
That's right.
But basically, you'd think, okay, you got A-list talent, you got a holiday film. You're thinking in the back of your brain, oh, the next Elf. We're thinking, hey, is this going to, I like these guys. It's a holiday thing, big budget. And then the first strike is it's over 2 hours long, too long.
Yeah, but again, I argue that it's because we're in a streaming age, and if it's anything that's going to be on a streaming service or in theaters, they want to give people more bang for their buck, so to speak, and the age of the 90-minute movie is kind of like a thing of the past, but go ahead.
And then it's a full-on musical, like the entire movie is a musical, okay?
You should have started with that. 2 hours of a musical, F off of that. I don't care what season it is.
Is Will Ferrell singing?
He is.
He sings good, though. He
Does he
does have
sing
a good
right?
voice. Yeah,
he and Ryan Reynolds are both singing. I mean, everybody's singing, and it's just. I mean, honestly, I can't tell you how it ended because I turned it off.
Yeah,
and I don't do that very often. I'm just like, I'll tough it through. I want to see how it ends.
I can tell you how it ended. I didn't even see it. It ends like happy, like Ryan Reynolds learns his lesson, and everything's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So so really, save your 2 hours. As Powers said, go watch Elf again. It's timeless.
Okay, yeah, that is a timeless movie for sure. So, but that was just a big bomb, swing and a miss from Apple TV. All right, the other movie stars Jason Momoa. Now, I'm surprised you don't like this because you thirst after him so hard.
No. I'm on the fence about Momoa because the way I am with Dune. So I love him as Duncan Idaho. I think he's awesome casting. I think in the Batman stuff, I think he's sort of, Aqua Bro. I don't really know that he's like the right Aquaman for me, but anyway.
We'll see the evolution of Aquaman under James Gunn. I mean, it won't happen in the sequel, but we'll see if he gets better after that. And if he doesn't, it's on him and DC.
I just think it's Momoa. I think Momoa is like, I'm starting to feel like he's like The Rock. It's like he's not really acting. It's just who he is.
Did you hear that, Powers?
Oh, I'm not surprised. That's pretty good critique.
Okay, good.
See,
All right,
just
I
shows
just
up
thought you
to-
were going to defend The Rock because he thirsts after Momoa, you thirst after The Rock. I thought we were all there, and I thirst after Cena. So yeah, fair play.
You know what? Cena really is still delivering.
He's so
for
good,
me.
isn't he?
He's
Yeah.
really
Oh, he's
great.
so good. He looks great.
No,
Listen to
he's
his crush
awesome.
voice.
No, he actually Cena was in a movie that I just saw that was dropped and to no fanfare whatsoever, where he played like a presidential nominee.
Oh yeah,
and that movie sucked.
yeah,
So,
that was bad. It was not good.
yeah.
No, so Slumberland is the Momoa thing. It's on Netflix, and I get what they were doing. They were trying to make a sweet father-daughter sort of movie. The girl plays the main little girl. She's like 12 years old or something. She's her dad is Kyle Chandler, right, from Friday Night Lights and other things, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, he's a lighthouse keeper, and you get this montage of all their life together. They're, the mother's gone, so it's just the two of them, and then of course something happens to him, right? And so she has to go live with her sort of clueless uncle, played by Chris O'Dowd, who's always wonderful in all the stuff he's in, and she's really struggling. Well, she ends up sort of going into this dreamland or slumberland where she meets this weird character who is played by Momoa, right? And his name is her name is Nemo, and basically his name is Flip. Okay. And Howard,
So this is like loosely based on like Little Nemo and Slumberland. That's the old comic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
So yeah.
All right.
But so she befriends this Flip character who played by Momoa, who has the horns, and he's like he's sort of like a, what is he like? He's like a
Satyr?
Yeah, satyr, exactly. A satyr with sort of a belly, which is weird. He keeps sticking his belly out, and you're like, what's going on? And it's just like, he kind of zips into the room, and he's like overacting all the time, and you're just like, oh, dude, I know that's what you thought the character was, but it's just distracting. And so so basically, there's a story to be told. She has to find a pearl and try and whatever, and she has to go on this journey. And so it's just, I get what they were after. They were trying to make a sweet father-daughter movie and sort of something for little girls, and that's sort of based on this comic and everything. But I just feel like it's a miss.
All right. Well, for a grown man, you're definitely not going to want to see a Slumber, but your kids might like it. It looks like with the graphics and special effects, that it is more geared towards kids, and so if they're 10 or under, they might enjoy that. You can put that on, go in the other room, bang your wife, and they'll be distracted for 2 hours.
Keep it classy.
Yeah. Well, that's my synopsis. We're going to keep the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. There, Powers is going to give us the rundown of what's happening this weekend around town, what you might want to go out and be entertained in person with. And when we return, there are a couple things worth watching on the streaming services. We're going to break those down with Herb Stratford as well. Clear. Yeah, well, that's a good thing if you're like a parent. You remember when your kid was younger and you wanted to distract your kid for a couple hours so you can spend some quality time.
And you didn't want to watch the Teletubbies, and you didn't want to watch, anything over and over again that they wanted to watch. You're like, there's a few things that my son watched. He'll deny this, and he doesn't remember this, but there's certain things that I was like, okay, watching over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I got to say, one was the Brave Little Toaster movies. Oh my God, there's something so creepy and so weird about those movies.
That is funny.
It's like Lamp and the Vacuum. And it's just like in a toaster. It's like someone, and this is John Lasseter.
Yeah.
So this is not like, this had a real pedigree, but it's like there was a lot of drugs involved.
Oh, yes.
Brave Little Toaster. Check it out.
In fact, that should be my new weekend plans, is just watch that again with a lot of drugs involved, because I remember growing up with that film, but sober. It's time to revisit it.
Well, you might have been on a sugar high, but that's about it.
Yeah, just about it. All right, real quick, we did our morning more on earlier. It was a good one, so I want to share that with you as I get set up for Power's breakdown of what's happening around town and more with Herb Stratford after Morning Morons. Stick around. Yeah, KFMA, it's a Beef Vegan Presents. Now 6:16 and time for your Morning Moron. Let's do it. Oh, there was just a recent survey talking about delivery drivers and how they are sexually sought after, and then talking about which delivery drivers are sexiest in their outfits. UPS guys always get the good credit. Amazon delivery drivers are on that list as well now because they're everywhere.
Good point.
Yeah. So this story happens to be about an Amazon driver. Now, if someone stole packages from your porch, the least likely suspect would probably be the delivery driver themselves, right? Porch pirates is their thing. And what happens is the Amazon delivery driver drops the package off, and somebody comes by, sees the package, and steals the package. But in this situation, the person dropping off the package just dropped it off and then picked it back up again.
Really?
Yes. It's a female Amazon delivery driver. She was delivering packages to a home in New York City back on October 29th. And while she was there, she stole several packages that had been previously delivered. Little drop and swap. Yeah. Now, I don't understand why or how anyone can think they can get away with this stuff nowadays with the age of Ring cameras.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Just assume Big Brother is watching, right? Now, she might have gotten away with it, but she was caught red-handed on the family's doorbell surveillance camera, which I'm sure you could tell.
It's not even a hidden camera.
No, it's not. It's right there. It's like a big cell phone camera staring you right in the eyes. Well, she opened the stolen packages in her truck and saw they were dresses for a wedding. So she drove down to the shop where they purchased, where they were purchased from, returned them, and was given a digital gift card.
Okay.
Right? So she straight up jacked it and returned it for cash. The homeowner says even though they didn't have the dresses, the wedding went off without a hitch. So that's the good news.
That's horrible that they didn't have those dresses for their wedding.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even consider that. As a dude, like, I haven't been fantasizing about getting married since I was 7, but I know that's something that every little girl aspires to be, right? They all think about their wedding. So they want it to be perfect. And this is the day that they still were in love and they still were able to get married. And that was great, but they were wearing their street clothes.
Yeah, they were in jeans.
Probably a New York Knicks jersey. Now, Amazon identified the driver and fired her ass. She was one of the 10,000 Amazon employees that are getting fired this week. And a rep says they're working with the police who are still investigating, and they also reached out to the homeowners and said that they make it right. So that's the good news. But to summarize, being a delivery driver and doing the old drop and swap definitely makes you a morning moron.
And we're not verified. Pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. Man, the meltdown is fucking amazing,
It's
right?
nuts to watch
he
a
like
company
shut
break.
he shut the company down, like the officer closed till Monday. What the fuck?
Oh, it was Twitter? Yeah.
Yeah, they just walked out. So now, like minutes ago, like Twitter's even like, we're closed for the weekend.
Yes.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Like, what the
And I love
know.
all the memes where people are like, can we get Elon to buy Ticketmaster?
That was
Can we,
funny,
you know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
Yes.
let's take whatever we don't like, let him take it over. And the idea that this is the guy we're going to put in charge of Mars.
Yeah, we actually did a speed break talking about that even before all this news broke. The mess over at Twitter is comical at this point. Elon Musk buys it, and like people are threatening to walk out. He locked out employees for fear of sabotage. The whole thing is just a mess. And my favorite comment that I just saw, because Twitter shutdown is trending, is Elon Musk could have ended world hunger and poverty, and he decided to fuck up Twitter for $44 billion instead.
It's not even all his money.
I know.
No, it's nothing.
It never is when it comes to these rich guys, right?
Yeah.
And it is crazy because it does take away from a lot of the folklore and the credit he was getting for being this billionaire. I mean, honestly,
yeah.
we were saying it all the way up until fucking January. This could be Tony Stark and Iron Man. He's brilliant. He's doing some things, and then he's just like obsessed with this. And he just said recently that he's overworked. He doesn't have enough time in the day. And I'm like, okay, well, how about you get the fuck off Twitter? Because you're tweeting like every 15 minutes. You can't tell me that you're overworked when you're just tweeting bullshit nonstop.
Yeah, he definitely shat the bed on this one, man. You're right. The mythos around him has been irreparably harmed.
Yeah. Yeah, and that really sucks because honestly, Elon Musk loves to get laid, right? And he's still rich, so he's going to get laid, but it's got to affect his game to a certain extent.
He's got like 7 kids from 5 different women or something. I mean, the guy, the guy, he's just like, he's a factory, man.
He's like a richer Nick Cannon, but you know what? I mean, you pump out enough kids, enough child support, even a billionaire become broke.
Yeah,
because those women know how to lawyer up.
Well, and those lawyers are circling. They're like, yeah, wait, we're taking on Elon. Oh, I'm in.
Oh, yes. Right. So, yeah, none of it makes sense. We'll see what happens, but maybe that's a good thing, right? We need some of these social media empires to crumble and start anew and learn from the things of the past, right? Facebook's actually going to be changing our profile here December 1st. So there's things on your Facebook profile that you're used to that will be no more including different information. Come on in, Deanne. What's going on? Oh, you got coffee? Okay. I'm loaded up, but thank you. So they're changing a bunch of things. In fact, actually, I'll give you the rundown of exactly what they're changing. Your address, and they want to change everything of what you know of Facebook. So here are the things. They're changing your religious views. They're taking that out. Political views. They're taking that out. Addresses and the interested in field where you might put your sexual preference. All that's gone. And it's going to be gone Facebook first. And they say it's all part of Facebook's attempt of getting people to think differently about their platform. Yeah, well, what are they thinking? How are they going to think differently? Like, oh, you're MySpacing it. Cool. Peace.
Well, also,
yeah,
I'm sure we all jump on each other's about pages to go check each other's political stance, not based on the memes people just share.
I know.
What do you do? Who cares?
yeah, exactly.
You're absolutely
how
right.
deep is your research unless you're stalking somebody?
Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that is true. I do Facebook stock well, though.
Disney Plus said that you have to update your profile. You have to add your gender, and you have to add something else.
I saw that last night. I saw because I was way behind on Andor, so I was like, I'm going to start again, and so I went and I logged back in, and they're like, update required, and it was like I had never been on Disney Plus.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to go through that?
Yeah, it was only like 5 or 10 minutes because I skipped a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
but
I mean, still,
I was like, hey, I'm here to do something. I got like 8 hours of Andor to watch. Let me go.
But it's one of those things that they want your analytics.
Yes,
they need to know
they're data farming, and you're giving it up to them, and that sucks. You should have lied. Did you not lie?
Well, I didn't give him everything, and I skipped as much as I could.
They're gonna be like, I mean, based off his stats here, he says he's an older gentleman, but his watching habits is that of a 9-year-old. You know, that's what they would say with Powers too.
That's what they say about me. Yes.
Right. So I would say to anybody watching the stream, if Disney Plus asks you to do this, you don't have to tell the truth. So if anything, just lie. This would be a great opportunity to create your own Disney fantasy.
And it's true. And we don't know if Goofy is a dog or a goof. I identify as a goof.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So thanks for the
Pluto's
heads up
eating out
on
of
that.
a bowl, and Goofy's driving a car. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, there's definitely some classism there. You know, that's underlying theme. Yeah, I do not appreciate it. Yeah, but I'm lying all day long. So yeah, I'll just say I'm 3 years old, filling it out. I'm just the world's smartest 3-year-old, Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck off. Now, show me more scenes where She-Hulk is banging. Because that's what 3-year-olds want to consume.
That's true.
Yes. Really mess with them. Throw a wrench in their whole direct marketing and creating stuff. Because that's what it is. It's essentially just trying to vanilla everything and just create specifically for a certain audience. I don't know if that's a good thing. Sometimes,
well, and you know, the thing is, like, what they used to do, and we used to talk about this, was something felt like it had been created in a boardroom, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like this had been market tested or whatever. Well, this is just a modern version of that. Is they're just looking at these analytics and saying, we don't even have to ask people because we know what they're doing, right? We're already watching their watch habits. So,
right.
Yeah.
And that's creepy in its own right. They're watching you watch them.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Look, he just incepted himself.
Yeah. Wait a second. Then is it fair? Is it even? Well, yeah, if you keep the price low, but they're jacking up the prices too. So they're charging us.
But also, like you said, game the system. Like, don't always tell the truth. Like, mess with the outliers. They're gonna be like, well, 95% of people say this, but this group over here, I don't understand that.
Yeah, this group was crazy. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You didn't think that. I want to try to just throw out the most obscure subset possible, but you know.
Well, the interesting thing is they push you. They want an avatar, right? They want you to pick an avatar, and they're pushing you to pick one of their characters.
Of course.
Right. So I'm just like, I start scrolling through and I'm like, oh my God, seriously? Like, because what does that say about you? Right.
Yeah.
You have to identify as one lovable character.
So you want to guess what I identify?
What did you pick?
No,
Yeah.
What do you think I did?
Oh,
It was probably the Wicked Witch or
is it?
That was if you picked for me.
yeah.
That's Warner Brothers anyway. Is it? If it's Disney, and who did you pick? Oh, I don't know. Did you pick Darth Vader?
I picked Thor.
Thor?
Yeah, I did.
There he is, folks. There's Thor.
I wanna shit all over you for that, but at the same time, with all respect, yeah, I see it. I can see it. Like if
And I'm not saying I'm not fat Thor. I'm just saying
you're not fat Thor,
You know?
you're not fat Thor, but you're Thor if they took away his superpowers and he aged gracefully into retirement. Yes, I can see it. All right, we got 5 seconds. We'll do the streaming thing and then Rock 102.1 KFMA. Be ready for a rundown of events to happen in town, what to look out for with Powers on the podcast broadcast stream. But first, speaking of streaming, there are a couple things worth your viewing time that Herb wants to break down for us. First and foremost, I know it's something that you watched last night, which I'm kind of envious of because I saw it pop up on the Netflix and it did look interesting. And it's based off a true story as well, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's called Pepsi, Where's My Jet? And so this is a 3-part series.
4.
And I thought it was
4.
Oh, it's 4.
Yeah,
okay.
it said
All right.
4 parts, but
All
I
right,
saw 3 parts in the
my bad.
description as well. And that's okay. Yeah, don't beat
I
yourself up,
watched it all.
Thor.
But anyway, so anyway, I don't know. A lot of people remember this, but Pepsi had this thing where they were doing Pepsi points, right? Which was sort of like the thing, Marlboro did it and Camel did it. And, they do it where they're trying to, build brand sort of support. And you would earn points by, on your caps or your labels or whatever, right? And so they have this commercial where it was like, oh, get these sunglasses, 25 points, or get this jacket for 300 points or whatever. And then the end of the commercial was a Harrier jet landing in front of a high school. And it said Harrier jet, 7 million points.
Oh, okay.
So this kid, 20-year-old kid at the time, he goes, I want that jet.
Yeah.
Right. And so he figures out how to game the system. He figures out there's no disclaimer saying just kidding or, whatever, or, doesn't apply in the US or, whatever. They could have disclaimed it. And so they didn't. So he's like, I'm getting those points. So he starts doing the math. He figures out, I got to drink like 600 Pepsis a day. I'm not going to get there. But then he finds this thing saying you can buy Pepsi points. Right.
Oh, really?
So he figures out, if I can buy the points for X amount of money, then I can turn this thing in. He finds a guy that's like a sugar daddy friend of his that he knew. And this guy says, yeah, I'll bankroll you because this is super cool. I want to have a Harrier jet.
Oh, yeah.
So basically they send the thing into Pepsi and Pepsi's just like, no. And he's like, no, seriously. And he lawyers up.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a really interesting story because they screwed up and it has all these really smarmy Pepsi ad guys going, oh, well, no one would take this seriously. And it's like, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And, and people sort of forget this was the peak of Pepsi, right? Pepsi's sort of a shadow of itself now. This is when they had Cindy Crawford. They had Michael Jackson. I mean, they were like going at Coke hard.
The choice of a new generation.
Yeah.
You're the Pepsi generation.
Yeah. I mean, it was very good marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had like bottomless, budgets. So it's really interesting to see how they handled this because obviously the kid didn't get a jet, right? But, at one point there was a jet in play, which I thought was really interesting,
Yeah, I love this just for the tale of basically David versus Goliath and calling them out. And this was also a lesson for all corporations after. It was like one of those landmark cases that's like, oh, if you don't cover your ass, you can't just think you're saying something tongue in cheek in an ad campaign. Without a disclaimer, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass because somebody will take advantage of that.
Yeah, well, people are going to take you seriously, and I mean it should have been. And then I guess they had a subsequent, like I think it was in Canada or somewhere else, where they had the other one. They're like 7 billion points or something that was like totally unattainable, right? I mean,
right?
Yeah. So and then that was clear evidence that we screwed up, right? We just these guys, these ad guys, they just come off as total D-bags. I mean, it's just really sort of funny.
But who's awesome is that investor guy, right?
Oh yeah,
what an
the sugar
exciting
daddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
What an exciting person.
Yeah.
It's one of these characters like in a documentary where you get a new character revealed and it's like, what is this, like the most interesting guy on our planet? Like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Well,
and
he is
awesome.
rich. Okay. And he's older at this point. So without spoilers, you thoroughly enjoyed this 4-part documentary series?
Yes. And when I turned it on, I was like, 4 parts. Does it need to be 4?
Yeah.
But then I'm watching episode 1. I'm like, okay, this is well edited. It's funny.
Yeah.
Right. They do a lot of good jokes. And then then there's a reveal, right?
Okay.
And then second episode,
Okay.
there's a reveal.
Right.
So by the third episode, I'm like, okay, I can see this might take a little extra minute to finish. And it didn't feel like too much.
Let me ask you this. How long are each episodes?
About 40 and maybe one of them's 30. Like, so they fluctuate.
So it's about a
between,
2-hour
30, 40.
movie.
Yeah, it's about like 2 hours.
2-hour documentary.
Yep.
And that's the one thing I don't like about Netflix. And they've been doing this a lot lately. They've been taking their documentary movies and they've been just chopping it up and making quote unquote episodic. But maybe that's because we as a consumer are so goddamn ADD that we can't be like, oh, 2-hour movie, sure. They
exactly
make it a series. Yeah. And again, well, that's
but the thing is too, like I'm in the middle. I'm not in the middle. I'm almost done. I'm on the 10th episode of Dahmer right now.
okay.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, something like that needed 10 episodes because that is just like, and I mean, honestly, it is incredible. But it's awful. You know what I mean? It is just the most horrible story. But the thing that I will say about Dahmer, if anybody has any even remote interest, and I'm not a Ryan Murphy fan at all, but I love what they've done. It's as much as you can love a thing about serial killer. It's the fact that they take the time to focus on other people. Like they have a whole episode about one of his victims that's just so powerful, and they focus on the woman that sort of was the whistleblower. Yeah. And so it's not just like glorifying Dahmer. Evan Peters is amazing in it, but it's just like also it's like the damage, right? You know what I mean? It's like you start to feel the human damage. It's not just like this weird guy. It's an amazing thing. It's 10 episodes. It's a lot. So you needed it for that. But, a lot of times you're right. You don't need a 2-hour movie broken into chunks.
That's a dramatic series. And it's good to have backstory on the victims because you need to know how delicious they were. So, all right, we're going to keep this moving on the podcast broadcast where there's another series that you need to check out on the streaming network. And then we're also going to get a breakdown of the events that are happening around town that you may want to go check out and entertain yourself with Powers. We got that and so much more. Stick around. It's Rock 102.1 KFMA. Yeah, I couldn't get into the entire series of Dahmer. I watched maybe like 3 episodes and I walked away.
He's delicious. His name's Herb.
That's true, but he's just chubby enough. I like
not a lot of fat,
like ribeye. I need more fat wrapped around the meat and stuff.
No, it's and I fought it for a long time. I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. And then my wife was at something, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna check it out. I'm gonna dip my toe in, and it was just like Evan Peters he's sort of mesmerizing.
Yeah,
I get why, and it's this failure of the system to, like it could have been stopped so many times. And then at the end, I think it was the beginning of the 10th episode that I'm just watching, they dipped into the John Wayne Gacy thing. And I was growing up in Chicago when John Wayne Gacy was discovered and they found all the bodies under his house and everything. And I'm just like, oh my God, and that's like even more like, that's just like straight up guy was just serial killer, right?
Yeah.
Dahmer was like a really weird character because like where it came from, like his dad got him into taxidermy. So he was like all like obsessed with like body parts. And it's like you can sort of see where the dad shares some blame in like really taking this disturbed kid and putting him in the wrong direction,
training him in a way. Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing.
All right. Yeah. You might hook me back in. I mean, I didn't dislike it and I did think Evan Peters was good, but yeah, I was upset about the system. And this really was a story about institutionalized racism and how, like a serial killer can get away with murder if it's in a poor black area and especially add in sexuality into the mix.
Yep.
And people just didn't care.
Yeah.
And that made me remember about, you ever see those serial killer trading cards?
I remember those.
Yeah, that was a big thing. It's a big business. Well, Netflix essentially is getting into that business with all their series, with Ryan Murphy's, series, and people are kind of getting upset, but that's their bread and butter.
It's not just them.
It's a serial killer universe. No, but they are literally capitalizing on the serial killer universe and creating all these different recreations, documentaries, and also dramatic projects, all based around real life serial killers. And they're doing it because, unfortunately, when it comes to Netflix viewing habits, they see that people are fascinated by it.
Yeah. I just jumped on Hulu yesterday and they were promoting some, it's always some like the documentary you were describing.
Murder
it's
docs.
like a murder documentary about this family that did this and did that.
We talked about it as it was developing.
Yeah. And there was another one that I was just on there the other day. It's like, a betrayal in the fashion world of murder. It's like, okay. Just pick any industry.
But, it's true crime, right? I mean, true crime is big. The podcast thing, it's like everybody loves this true crime thing. And I don't know if it's because it's an escape from everything that everybody's dealing with. They're just like, at least I'm not getting stalked by Jeffrey Dahmer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but like to me, usually when I want to be entertained, I don't want to be stressed out, right? Which is why I don't watch all the cop, fire, doctor, hospital shows because I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to see that.
I hear that. And the commenters agree. In fact, actually, XXX 20 Sites said, hot girls for you. All right. So
Excellent. We were
Yeah.
waiting for XXX20.
Triple excellent.
SITE.
Yeah. All right. Was there anything else coming to the streaming service that you want to talk about?
I just want to mention Yellowstone because
Yeah.
I really dig Yellowstone, and I don't know if you're watching or not, but it's it's great casting. It's like it's over the top ridiculousness in some of the storylines, just in terms of like these villains. They're they're sort of comical, but I just love it. I eat it up. I mean, it's just, and I'm a fan of Costner, even though he's sort of not a nice guy in real life. But I think Kelly Riley is great. Wes Bentley, the whole cast is great. This is the 5th season. It's on fire, right? The Taylor Sheridan universe. They did 1899 or whatever it was. 1923 is coming out next month, which is Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford. I mean, this sort of world that he's created. It's very interesting that it's sort of the modern West, and I'm digging it. And I like the show. So, I mean, if people are into it, it's worth checking out.
I love that. What about Tulsa King? I'm looking forward to it. That got released, and I'm waiting for a couple episodes to come out before I start watching that. But Sylvester Stallone stars as
and that's
mob boss.
Taylor Sheridan, and also Terrence Winter had a hand in that. And I don't know if you guys remember Boardwalk Empire, which was the great HBO series. That was Terrence Winter's show, and so. I'm interested to see the previews for Tulsa King. It looked like, Stallone, I mean, was he 81 now or something? I mean, it's sort of amazing, but I'm interested. It's sort of an interesting thing. It's a mob boss that gets sort of exiled into Tulsa, and he's sort of taken over the town. Great supporting cast, Martin Starr, some really great people in that series. Interested to see how that goes. But again, it's modern stuff that I think Taylor does a really good job of writing. So well, again, with the writers, everyone behind it, and Stallone was about to leave his wife just to dive into this, and so he was fully committed.
He's 76. And Schwarzenegger's 75.
Wow,
and he's in excellent shape. And Stallone as a mob boss, I'm like, about fucking time.
That's awesome.
Right? Oh, it's so believable. It really is. And seeing the little clips, I'm just like, that's a mob boss I want to watch.
Yeah. And from what I heard, like when Taylor approached him, he was just like, number one, I'm in because I love your work. And then Stallone also was like, and I get to be a mob boss? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, what took so long?
Yeah.
I mean, he's Italian. So Scorsese, you dropped the ball on that one, right?
Yeah, well, Marty is 80, I believe. So
just
turned 80 this week. Yeah,
that's true. All right, let's get into what's happening this weekend. Powers, you got the rundown for us. We're gonna start with the family festival. So you got some family-friendly events happening around town, huh?
A lot of family stuff. If you want to check out some concerts or shows, maybe go to the KFMA concert calendar. But I got you. Look, when it comes to taking the kids out, because the 15th annual family festival in the park that's over at Reed Park. The theme being around the world, that's going to be coming back. So they're unveiling the Reed Park master plan at it. So some new ideas for what they're going to do to innovate Reed Park. There's a bunch of games, prizes, lots of bounce houses, that sort of thing for kids. Right. And the zoo is going to have $1 admission. So
$1 admission for this?
From 9 to 4 at the Reed Park Zoo.
Oh, so, that's awesome. Yeah.
That's happening, I believe, Saturday. And free swimming with an obstacle course, which I think is fun. That's
well,
at the rec center.
Who's going to swim right now? Inside. Okay.
Yeah.
All at the Reed Park, all for this family fest. Yes. The Reed Park Zoo is always pretty cheap. So, and it's great. It's a nice little walk.
Yep. And now it's nice out.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, actually, I feel like I want to go back to the zoo. And bring my teenage daughter and have her hate it. But she used to love it, and that's the best part of having kids, right? Young kids is that you can enjoy these things, because if you go there as like a grown man, it's creepy. You need a kid to drag along to like the zoo. Like you can't just go with your gold shoes by yourself to go to the zoo. You're going to get flagged.
If you have gold shoes, you can.
You just bring a sketch pad. It's fine.
Oh yeah. I'm just here to sketch gorillas, not kids.
That's right. Sketch those animals.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of what happens if you look sketchy and you put yourself in a sketchy situation. This happened to a guy. There was police in Vermont who was looking for a man who was spotted in a mall parking lot carrying 2 swords and a BB gun. And they put his picture out in the media and saying, be on the lookout for this guy, terrorist. The guy saw this, called up the police and said, hey, I bought that fucking sword and the BB gun at the mall. Cops looked at it and they're like, oh yeah, you're right. My bad.
We didn't check the receipt.
Right. So see what happens. But if he was wearing a trench coat or something and looked a little sketchy, then people are gonna, narc out. It's that day and age.
No loitering.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, especially with the sword. All right. What else is happening here? We got the 37th Avenue Fall Artisans Market at
37th annual Fall Artisans Market. Not 37th Avenue. But it's
Oh, okay. Well, there's no annual in there either. So I
Yeah,
just,
sorry.
all right.
So that's happening. It's 10 to 5. It's going on today as well as through Sunday. So that's going to Tucson Museum of Art. There's a whole bunch of vendors there. I think I sent you the link, might have the map. So it's a pretty big event, hundreds of artists. So remember, it's time to shop, right?
It's great. This is a great event, and it's a really great opportunity to support local artisans, and also, like you just said, shop. Absolutely. It's this holiday season. You get, the stuff that's handmade is always better.
Yeah, buy local stuff.
The Tucson market, huh? So then, yeah, it's basically like a fancy swap meet.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's
All
exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I'm seeing all the different little tent setups. And does it say what different vendors might be there?
There was a map, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they have glass, garden glass, and photography, and all the
ceramics, all kinds of stuff.
Pottery, prints, paintings.
Shit. Yeah. Okay.
It's free, and it says on the website, free. Bring money to shop.
Yeah. I might take my daughter there so she can finally buy me a birthday present. That would be nice.
She owes you one.
Yeah. I'll be like, hey, buy me something. Yeah, I told a story yesterday of my birthday where I was like, hey, did you give me a card? Did you give me anything? She's like, no, I didn't have time. Like, you knew it was coming up. You were just shopping last weekend with your friends. Oh, no, I'm sorry. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's go to Dave & Buster's. Open the door. There's a package right there leaning against the house. I'm like, what's this? And she's like, oh, that's from Amazon. That's for me. I'm like, you bought yourself a present? And it came and it was delivered on my birthday? Like, you got to feel like a dick. If you don't, you should. Yeah.
Rico got it right. That's enough of my life.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
100%. Yes. The Tour de Tucson's a big deal. Have you ever participated in the Tour de Tucson? Either one of you?
No, it scares me.
I don't have an electric bike yet, so not yet.
I don't know if they're allowed to have electric bikes, right?
Because remember, it's regular.
No, I don't know.
That feels like cheating.
Yeah, that's performance enhancing. No, they're not going to allow that, dude.
Well, remember, this isn't just a race. You can also join. There's a lot of bike events, things like that.
That's
a lot
true.
of biking in the area, and there's even a big event and an expo at the TCC. So you can go check out some of the stuff going on at the TCC.
Now, see, here's why I know you're wrong about the electric bike, because JJ agrees with you. And he's like, yeah, nice answer, Powers. So JJ, cheated in our builder band. So he's always going to support cheaters. Yeah. So you're not allowed to have electric bike.
You can't if you're in the race.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't be doing that. But
all right.
Also, if you want to not attend the event because there's a lot of stuff going on or want to get up to date on the traffic, ESPN Tucson's me covering it and updating and doing interviews.
Yeah. Big Al's going to be doing a live play-by-play. They're going to be driving around the ESPN van. That's very odd because there's not too many windows, but they do a great job in broadcasting this event, and it's a big deal all over the world. This is a world renowned.
Yep.
And and also just you bring up a really good point. This is a race. There's a lot of people racing. If you're out driving, please pay attention. You know what I mean? There's been times when riders have been hit by drivers.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, pay attention to the traffic patterns. Really pay attention to the surroundings around you, because you don't want to kill anybody. I mean, this is really
no, but if they get hurt a little bit, it's like Mario Kart. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, the race, there's numerous factors. That's what makes this race so exhilarating. You're like, yeah, it's not about just who could be the fastest, who can also dodge a dodge.
It's like Death Race 2022.
There you go.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Right. We're breaking down events that are happening around town with Powers. We just talked about the big bike race, the El Tour de Tucson, which you've been hearing us mention on the station. Here we got Big Al doing the play-by-play commentary. I think ESPN Radio is going to be doing a live broadcast of this, but you're going to see it all over town anyways. Mm-hmm. So this is the weekend where everybody is on bicycles. And if you have to go anywhere in town and there's going to be a bike lane, I'd probably avoid it, because they're going to be out there in their tights doing their thing.
And that's honestly, it's from like early morning, right? Mm-hmm. So, by like afternoon, it's over, but just, save a life, like pay attention.
Yeah. All right. Look at it. See, look.
He cares about the cyclists.
Papa Herb showing his concern. Yes.
Yeah, I've known a couple bicyclists. Honestly, I've known a couple bicyclists, not who've been killed here, but one that was killed in California. And by so anyway, it's an important thing.
Okay, yeah. So be on the lookout for cyclists this year and try to avoid them.
Yeah.
There was one more event that you didn't get to mention, right?
That's right. If you want to go out, maybe do bump into some people, knock some people down, go ice skating, because you could go ice skating. We've got an ice rink here in Tucson. It's going to open up on Sunday.
Yes, they already started building it up. I see it at the TCC, and that's where it's at. It's just outside the TCC. Excellent time if you go out to the Tucson Roadrunners games this weekend. There's a game on Saturday. There's a game on Sunday. You can do a little ice skating before the game on Sunday or even after the game on Sunday, as it's open, I think, late too. But
yeah, it goes till about 9:30.
Yeah, yeah. And it is cool what they do there. You know, they have the lights all set up. It's beautiful. And you're like, an outdoor ice skating rink in Tucson? Like, how's that work? They make it work. And if you know how to ice skate, it's super fun. So
they have rentals for up to size 15.
Yeah, yep. So even you could go, Herb.
That's right. I'm like a 13, so
there
you're
you
right.
go. Yeah. Me too.
All right, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I got wiggle room, but whatever, bitch, I'm wearing them, so I'll wear a 13. Yeah, it's cool. So they also have like a family area. The Christmas trees got the whole decor. So Tucson Holiday Ice is opening up this Saturday. So that's the word on the street. The events that are going on around town. We'll hit the reset. Be back with your beef tip, but we're keeping the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. You can join us there. YouTube.com/beefvegan. I don't know why my tongue got so fat.
You were buffering.
Yeah, I was buffering. Yeah, that wasn't me. That was the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to touch on just, Thanksgiving is a lot of times people go to movies over Thanksgiving because they want to get away from their family.
Right.
Right. And so that's sort of a weekend where there's a lot of times there's a big film that drops that's sort of family friendly. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this weekend we got a couple of choices here. We've got the new Steven Spielberg movie, The Fabelmans, which is the autobiographical story about him growing up and becoming a filmmaker. And he actually grew up in Scottsdale in the late 50s.
And Prescott too. Well, like the Back to the Future clock towers, basically Prescott's town square.
Yes.
Yeah, inspired by that. Did you know that?
Yeah.
No.
And have you heard anything about this Fableman?
Not one thing.
So here's what's cool about this. Now Seth Rogen's in it, like playing his uncle. And I saw pieces where Spielberg was crying all like during the making of this film. Even though it's semi-autobiographical or whatever, there were so many moments that just relived and opened up his memories of his childhood, and he's very reflective of this, and he would just get so overwhelmed with emotion that he would just break down and cry on the set. And Seth Rogen's talking about this in interviews, and he said it made them, the actors on the project, want to make sure that they're giving everything they can to try to capture and recapture and recreate this in honor of the memory for Steven Spielberg's childhood growing up. Did you read any of these pieces?
Yeah, no, and it's interesting. I've only seen one from one critic friend of mine that had a chance to see it early, who said it was a little bit overly weepy and a little bit overly sort of sappy. Everybody else seems to really dig it. And so, this is a film a lot of people are saying they've been waiting, for his whole career for him to make something very self-reflective and sort of, celebrating where he got, the Jones to do what he does. And, love or hate, not everything he does is fabulous. 1941. But it's like, honestly, the guy, he's a once in a generation filmmaker, and I mean, the things he's done. So to see this sort of origin story is going to be it's a big win for this weekend.
I don't think that there are like directors like him anymore. Like he's kind of Disney-esque, like Walt Disney-esque in his like lore, Jim Henson, where it's like, look what we have because of him. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, we're not going to see that again. You're right.
Yeah.
And here's another just great takeaway for people in Arizona. They're going to want to watch this film because it encapsulates a time in Arizona.
Yeah.
That he grew up in. So it's all set in Arizona, in Scottsdale and Prescott or wherever the case is. But yeah, that's the backdrop.
And then for something completely different next weekend, you've also got Bones and All. You guys know about this film?
No.
So this is Timothée Chalamet. And
I do have a trailer. I know you love Timothée Chalamet.
I do because of Dune. Yes.
Yes, because of Dune and his hair and whatever.
So anyway, this is a movie about young cannibals. So completely different. And I got to tell you, all right. So you guys know I watch a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not queasy. Like I'm like, oh, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not one that shies away from the TV when I'm watching something or whatever. I'm not like seeking out like really disturbing, whatever. But anyway, they said for this week, and it was something they even had like in red, bold lettering. This may be too disturbing. Of course, I'm like,
it's a challenge.
I couldn't.
What?
I had to turn away. I just like, and it's a very simple scene where basically the girl, and I can't think of her name right now. It's Taylor something.
I have it. It's what's her name? Taylor
Russell. Yeah. So
Ooh, same time.
She plays sort of this girl that he ends up. He's like this cannibal guy, and he ends up hooking up with her. She's also got these cannibalistic tendencies, and then they end up sort of finding out, sort of like Lost Boys sort of thing, where like there's this group of people that, you know, or like was the Shining sequel where they had the people that were, you know, sucking the spirit out of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's a scene that they released, a little clip of her doing something, and I couldn't get through it. It was just, and I don't know if it was, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say what it was, but it was just, there was something about it that was just so disturbing, and something that, like, it was so real. Like, you know, when horror is like over the top, right?
Sure,
and you're
yeah.
just like, oh yeah, well, that's, you know, like Freddy Krueger, like, oh, that's just a made up thing, right? But when it's something you can actually see happening, you're just like, oh,
Right.
So anyway, this movie, I'm super curious to see. At a couple of film festivals, people were really digging it. So it's called Bones and All, and it's Luca, the director, is the guy that did Call Me by Your Name. So
And Escape Room.
Yeah, and Escape Room. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, interesting. This guy is all over the place. But Timothy Chalamet, you know, he's on fire, of course. Everything he does.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Taylor Russell was in Escape Room.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
She's done a couple of things. She did the movie about the kid with autism. I actually interviewed her on a junket. She's a sweet girl. But yeah, this is a disturbing film. So get ready for that. So yeah, Fabelmans or Bones and All next weekend, opening on Wednesday.
I'll tell you what I'm excited about next Wednesday. It's the drop of two things. Is it Wednesday? Well, one Wednesday is going to be dropping. That's the new Wednesday Addams show on Netflix, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, the holiday special.
Yeah. Is that Wednesday as well? I think it is. Or Black Friday.
I think it's after, yeah. But yeah, that should be, so the trailers make it look interesting. I'm super stoked to have a return to that world.
I just have faith in James Gunn, even though Batista got fat, and that's going to be weird. But you know, I'm sure they'll address it and throw in a dig or two. I think they did already. Yeah. Well, you know, the thing with Dave Batista is he gained like 20 pounds, and that's not much, and he's still yoked, but 20 pounds on him is like 20 pounds in his face. He just fucking looks like he turned into like the 350. He looks like King Kong Bundy.
Really?
Yeah. And then you put the makeup on it and stuff. He's doughy, dude. I'll show you here once we wrap up the podcast broadcast, but we're going to get live on the air here in a minute. I'm surprised you haven't seen these trailers.
Because I didn't watch. I'm like, part of it's like, oh, I missed the trailer. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch it. What do I care?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I know. That's true. Don't blow your load. Rock on 2.1 KFMA. That's a saying, by the way. Yeah. The saying I can't repeat on the air, but you can hear what that saying was on youtube.com/BeFegan. The podcast broadcast is always on demand. You can watch any of our previous episodes, see the trailers as Herb's talking about the movies that you do or do not want to see, and so much more. Speaking of YouTube, Herb has a YouTube page. So if you like interviews and reviews as well, you can subscribe to his page. It's Arts and Culture Guy.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. I just dropped a couple interviews this week from The Swimmers, which is a film. It's coming out on Netflix. Really interesting.
There you go. So yeah. So if you're a fan of the movie interviews and stuff, he's got you covered as well. We are almost out of time now. Next week is Thanksgiving week. I'm taking the day off, but don't fear. Power is going to be holding down the fort. And then we'll be back after that, live in full effect, giving away tickets and do what we will. But let's get into our beef tip for we pass it on to Robin Nash, and you guys enjoy your weekend. And hopefully see you at the Roadrunners game on Saturday or Sunday, because that's be out there partying it up. All right. So when should you start shopping for Black Friday? Today. Or actually Sunday. That's a beef tip. And the reason why is because they have all their products on sale starting Sunday. So it's before Black Friday. So you can kind of get a jump ahead. So electronics, especially smaller electronics, those are products that you're going to be looking for the deepest discounts this year. And package deals like smart home products are also on sale starting this Sunday. So get a head start of Black Friday. Don't wait till Black Friday. Black Friday technically starts Sunday, and that is your beef tip. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, slide in our DMs, and enjoy your day. Until then, Robin Nash is up next. Enjoy the rest of your day and weekend. Drive safe, ride safe, and as always, rock local. Later. A lot of repeating. I did a lot of repeating there.
All right.
Yeah,
I gotta
know.
hear it.
Captain Positive there. Good show today, Powers. Thank you guys for watching, guys. We'll see you on the Flippity Flop. Later.
I will knock out all your teeth.